Welcome back to the match here. We are seeing as Instinct is up 2-0 over Fnatic Classic. Classic's looking to not get skunked here, but you know, Instinct's one of their best maps is Team King on Oasis.
Yeah, it's a new map, and you can bet that Instinct is a very well practiced team coming into this.
All right, well, let's take a look at the map. Speaking of the underrated player, we are actually going to start off with Lunchbox on this Team King on Oasis. Now, the last time I saw Instinct play on Oasis, they were going against Final Boss in a Game 5, and didn't work out the best.
Yeah, it depends on what you're talking about. Yeah, it worked out pretty well for them, and I think that really goes the reason is they have a really great knowledge of the angles on the map. I mean, there's so many different ways to approach green, and there's so many different places you can stand while guarding this hill. That those strategies, definitely there's tons that haven't even been tapped into yet. So what I'm going to be looking for on this map, Gandhi, is how Instinct sets up on each hill.
Yeah, and already, I mean, Classic's doing a great job at scrapping this bottom hill. When they played straight ripping earlier on in the day, they did so well at just gathering all this hill time from the bottom hill, and I'm expecting Instinct to do the same thing. Instinct is very widely known as being objective players, always getting this hill, milking the clock for all it's worth. But, you know, they don't really seem to be, you know, have any sense of urgency yet. I mean, they're only down by 9 points, which is absolutely nothing, but, you know, that can come back to haunt them.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's okay most of the time to have a patient approach to getting this first hill. You want to get map control first, and that generally applies to most hills. However, you know, my team is guilty of this, and I know a lot of other teams are. If you take just too much time to actually get that hill, the other team might be on spawn ready, and it's kind of like the team that ends up milking time is generally the team that's going to be pulling ahead. So that was so important back on, if you remember, King on Halo 3's The Pit. I mean, just little time. I think what you think might be a 5-second spot could easily turn to a 45-second spot if you get the right kills and you have the right positioning. So I think Instinct will definitely be capitalizing on opportunities right here. They're only down by 7 seconds, and you can bet that they're not worried about it.
Yep, so all members of Classic, you have Russo being taken out in the hill. Prototype is actually sniping in the river. Now he is on the front ramp of blue. Chig is in the hill, still milking this clock, and Straight Sick is on the prowl for all the members of Instinct. Yep. Luckily for Instinct, though, Lunchbox had the grenade launcher, and he was actually sniped by Chig, so Chig already putting that sniper to use. If he heats up, you know, they do have a chance of coming back.
Absolutely. Right on the Classic side, I was watching, they had 2 sniper rifles just for a second. As you mentioned, Instinct got the nade launcher, and they just right away took out both snipers for Classic. So, I mean, there's real opportunity there to have 2 snipes on this map and kind of watch the hill. But Instinct was all on it, and they did not let it happen. And even though they're down by 24 seconds, I mean, they're not really concerned about that. And they're just going for map control at this point. So much time left in the game.
Yep, so Bravo, you can go ahead and take out your notepad so your team can know how they play, because we are seeing the full setup of Instinct. You have Ogre 2 with the sniper. He is going to be pushing top green. Now he is forced to back up in the tunnel as Straight Sick's going to approach him. Roy is going to be right there to help him out. Pistola will be using that grenade launcher to bounce back around in the hill because Lunchbox was taken out. Pistola's main job there with that grenade launcher was to watch the back ramp.
I think that was a great job. You just saw Ogre 2 and Roy, and then Lunch just switching just like that. I mean, that's really how they're going to get map control. If you can bait and switch on a map like this, because there's generally, it's a 2 base, and we didn't think that this map was going to be standoffish. You know, none of my team, we kind of talked about it last night, but it's looking like the map can be cut down the middle. You know, it's very symmetrical, so, and it plays that way as well, and that's was not always a characteristic of a symmetrical map. Really nice nasal from Ogre 2. So here's the setup we were looking for.
Yep, so Ogre 2 is on an 8-kill spree as he is trying to take out Chig. He has such a good long-range shot, and now he is just going to try to get out of dodge and try to stay alive, maybe wait for his teammates to push up, but he has to wait for his shield here. He's so smart. He knows. I'm like trying to tell Ogre 2 how to play Halo. Like, come on. It's like telling Tom Brady how to throw a football.
Yeah, that was a really nice play there. You saw he run around front. The biggest threat to the hills right now is that back ramp. Everyone's kind of jumping up and getting assassinations. So if the hill guy has to watch that, it comes into question who's watching bottom green, who's watching top green. So now it has to have a very delicate balance of one person watching that back ramp. You say Ogre 2 was able to sneak around the back ramp. He waited for his whole team to spawn on that side and try to push up front. Definitely, in theory, a great idea, but his team was unable to convert on that, and they still have yet to get the lead back here.
Prototype going for a premature melee, but Ogre 2 running out of ammo, so he is going to be taken down. Classic still has the lead, and they're just going to get a little bit of milk time. Nope, they're getting destroyed by Lunchbox. So Shake is going to be taken out. Prototype does have the grenade launcher still. Russo is going to be watching his back at the tunnel, and Straight Sick will be fighting for every inch of this map, but he is going to be taken out. So now it's going to be interesting to see how exactly Instinct is going to push on this hill.
Yeah, from Classic's point of view, I mean, I've been in this situation plenty of times, and it's very scary to play with a slight lead against a team like Instinct, because as you can see, Instinct's kind of been outslaying but not getting map control, which is why Classic has been able to get a lead like this. But I think that if Classic really starts to throw on the guns and get 4 dead and get them on spawn, they can do something here. But if they keep playing this way and just getting a little bit of time, I think we're going to see Instinct pull ahead, you know, at the latest midway through the game.
Yeah, and I mean, they have a 10-point lead, but even in King of the Hill, that means nothing. That is about having a 3-kill lead in a Team Slayer game. Really, you can make up that time very, very easily. And now we are seeing as Classic is going to be setting up. Russo will be relocating himself with this sniper back to the blue flag. Prototype will be sitting on top green. Super Straight Sick will be taken out on the hill, and Russo now is going to be coming around on a huge flank at red flag, but he is spotted by Roy. Not the best person to be spotted by.
Yeah, to build on what you were saying earlier, Gandhi, it's 10 seconds, even more than that is nothing. We had a match against Carbon earlier, and the bottom hill was moving with over 15 seconds. I think it was actually 17 seconds on the clock, and we just totally gave it to him. And that even though we were losing the game still, we got that bottom hill, we just controlled blue, waited for the hill to come. And so it's definitely, going back to, like I said, on Halo 3 The Pit, you really have to lock down one side of the map when that hill's moving at the same time as the power-ups are coming up, because that's just such a swing of power. And if you're not ready for that hill move, then the other team gets the kills, the power-ups, and the hill, then you're in trouble when you're on spawn. You don't want that to happen ever in the game, let alone more than once.
Now, I have to talk about this. What does Carbon do wrong in these games? I mean, you just played them, and from what I watched against Straight Rippin', they get out to early leads, and then they just seem to blow.
Yeah, they actually had an early lead on us in 2 game types. And I think for whatever reason they have trouble converting. And that could be, like I started to talk about earlier, as I see how Classic is playing here. Now Instinct has slowly started to get this lead. You can bet that they're going to pull away with it pretty soon. Now that happens to a lot of other teams. That you just don't expect maybe a certain strategy. So maybe Classic was doing something right in the beginning of the game. Maybe they put a guy top green when the hill was bottom green, or vice versa on a bridge. And Instinct being the better team, I think it's safe to say that, they just pick up on it and they make sure that doesn't happen again. So little things like that, it's really cool to see how even in one game a strategy can evolve based on what the other team is doing. And I think that is just testament to Instinct being, you know, pure veterans, especially in Halo Reach at this point in the season.
Yep, so Ogre 2 doing a good job trying to give his teammates the spawn. He was able to give Pistola the spawn, but he is going to be taken out. Roy and his twin brother will be pushing this bridge. 2 Browns, 1 bridge, ladies and gentlemen. I've been waiting to bust that out.
Have you seen the video, 2 Browns, 1 bridge?
No, I haven't.
No, okay.
Is it good?
I'm not joking.
I know.
Oh,
it was fun. We have jokes.
We got a tie game here. This is good.
Now, King of the Hill, as a coach, this has got to be, you know, very grueling on you.
Yeah, it's pretty much our job to make sure it isn't grueling on the players. Because you never, on the odd minutes, you don't want to be like, grenade launcher's coming up, sniper's coming up, and the hill's moving, and you can't say stuff like that. So, I mean, you know, if you preface your sentence with that, you know, the team's not even going to care about what you say after that. So it's going to be, you know, you got to tell them, all right, weapons and hill, and you just kind of go into where the other team is going. And you got to really pick out those priorities when you're looking at 4 screens. For example, hill's going bottom green, and there's a guy in the red rocks. That guy needs to be taken out or at least neutralized so that he can't be a threat, and then you can gain control. I mean, you got to push him back to the tunnel and force a spawn or something like that. So really, I'm not calling out anything else except the first priorities of getting hill control. And if the team's kind of dying, like for example, hill moved and we're on spawn, you never want that first guy to push out unless there's a one-shot he's chasing. There are obviously special circumstances for every situation. However, you want to make sure your team's really pushing together, and I'd say that's the biggest thing, especially on a game like this where there's not that many lines of sight. You know, if you're spawning in the back of the base, you can't see every part of the map. So you really want your team to be pushing out together and then push the advantage. One game that I can compare this to for Halo 3 fans would be Lockdown Ball. Although it had a very short run.
Oh, yeah.
My Triggers Down team, we were very good at that game type. We never lost it. And that's because we had established it. We didn't lose it, man.
You didn't. You didn't. But it's just so funny how you had that a Lockdown Ball. We never lost it, by the way.
I think I'm qualified to talk about Lockdown Ball. So we never lost it because we established it. You kill the guy carbine side, and you go ahead and push. And it was the simplest priority, and not a lot of teams have figured that out. So I think when teams start to figure that out on this map, and I think Instinct's really starting to figure it out, especially, well, maybe on Team Slayer, and maybe not necessarily on this map, but once you establish those priorities, and that is really the coach's job, is to just repeat them to the team, and really if everyone's on the same page and the coach knows the priorities and the teams agree with that, I think that's good. So there's nothing more important than, especially at LANs, is just going over priorities with your team, because then when you're here in the tournament, everyone's going to focus on the right thing.
Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, Instinct said that this is their best game type. But Classic is, you know, they are keeping up with them. In fact, they have the lead right now. Super Straight Stick out shooting Ogre 2 when Ogre 2 had help. Not the best scenario there, but it just seems that Classic is just relentless on pushing this hill. They are just sending every single guy there, but they are doing it very well. They're normally sending one guy high and one guy low. As you see right now, Straight Stick was going to be pushing with Chig, although he is going to be taken out. Chig was going to take the high route, Straight Stick was going to take the low route, but it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, it's do or die here in this series for Classic, and Instinct is still playing a little bit lackadaisical, if you will. They're not giving it 100% on the game type, and because, you know, they definitely are a more skilled team, I think they can afford to do that, and you know, I'd be surprised if Classic pulled away here. I mean, it's one thing that Classic might win this game by a few seconds because they're getting this milky hill time. However, I'm surprised to see this, really, how Classic is playing.
Yeah, and Prototype now has the sniper. He is just going to be sitting top green with it. He is going to be sitting on the red bridge. He is watching the health pack, making sure they do not spawn behind them. Instinct now is going to be pushing on the snipe side of the map. They are going to be trying to push through the river and push through the shoddy, but Prototype is fully aware, and he is putting that sniper to use as he just picked up a ridiculous no-scope on Roy. They are actually pulling away.
Yeah, something I really like here that you guys have been watching on this Super Straight Stick. Awesome play right there. And this is something my team talked about. In this, we call the River Oasis, and when you're hanging out down there front of the base, it's almost like Onslaught Flag, when you could hang out front of the base and no one would look at you. People push out top A, top B, but you could sit front of the base. And that's very similar in that no one's really looking at that Oasis if you're in the base. So what he just did, he flanked around, put shots into the front of the lobby, and then picked up a kill when the two guys jumped out. So, I mean, really nice player from Classic, and that might have been, you know, a really great setup to have that roamer kind of roaming around like that. Similar to what we talked about on Countdown with Ogre 2 running around.
Ogre 2 and the rest of the Instinct squad will be spawning at blue flag. Keep in mind, guys, Classic just pulled away by 30 seconds. This is absolutely huge for them, but Instinct just still keeping the pressure on. It seems as though they're just getting a little bit cocky, to say the least. Roy is challenging at every second he gets, and Pistola is just trying to figure out where they're all at. You know, normally on a map like this, especially versus you guys, not to bring up past memories here, I'm sure you've repressed them into your unconscious if you are a Freudian out there. But, you know, Pistola was dominating. He went on a killing frenzy. This is like a perfectly designed map for him.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that, I mean, Instinct is kind of playing it as if, you know, this is, they can afford to lose this game. They, of course, don't want to. It's their last pool play match of the day. And they might just be not giving it 100%. So now they're 2 dead here. So Pistola is going to have to just calm down and wait for his team. We were actually down by a similar amount to Carbon earlier. And really just got to regain your bearings, slow it down, make sure everyone is willing to be patient and just push out. See here, you see Lunchbox challenging when Pistola was weak, so he's taken out. And we'll see if they get the convert on this. 2 guys weak in the hill, so it's very dangerous. But Borg does a nice job to maintain hill control. Had he been taken out, Classic would have likely gained control very easily. But right here, a little bit of a standoff as both teams try to grab the hill. Only 2 minutes left here, so it definitely could come down to the wire.
Instinct, Lunchbox just really going on a predictable flank here, and somehow he is able to embarrass Straight Stick. Straight Stick had the first shot and a nade on him. It didn't do a lot of damage, but it still did enough. And Lunchbox just making him pay. This is going to be 4 down for Classic, as Prototype will be spawning at the blue courtyard. They are not aware of that. Oh, yes, they are, as Ogre 2 instantly spots him. He is super smart, and they need to be getting hill time, which is exactly what Pistola is doing, but they have to stay alive. This hill will be moving in 40 seconds.
Yeah, that was a really great push from Classic there. You see Ogre 2 challenge the ground the tunnel, something I would definitely not encourage a player to do. You want to keep your shields as much as possible, especially on a hill game type. It's not worth it to run out there and, you know, make both players weak, because then the other team can easily push you and get the advantage, which is what they did. They pushed through the tunnel, they took out Ogre 2, and now they have hill control, and their lead is going to increase by even more. So really, it's just, you know, Ogre 2 there probably could have gotten a guy weak and pulled back because he had evade. You know, definitely not that big of a risk, but unfortunately it didn't work out for him. So you have to be really careful when you're holding the hill, not only when you're pushing, but when you're holding the hill, to just keep your shields. And if you think about it, it's very difficult to push on a team who has full shields. You don't want to overcommit when you're defending the hill.
Well, this is going to be a big hill for the members of Instinct. They are desperately trying to get over to the blue side here. They need every second of time starting at the 40-second mark, and they are not even close yet. Shake is going to be ripping all faces here. He is going to pick up 1 kill on the bridge. Roy is engaging with Russo. He is going to take him down. That is going to be 2 members down for this Classic squad, and Instinct is still pushing it up. Roy finally spotting Shake. He is going to have to reload, and no one is in the hill yet. 30
down
seconds.
to the last seconds here.
And that is going to be it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is it.
And, you know, I never know what to do in this downtime here.
This
You know, we
downtime
got like
right here?
30 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
like,
know
what do
what's
we
funny?
do?
Because they don't know what to do either. They're just playing.
Yeah.
So
Like, what do
we
you do?
You know what we do? Talk about why they won.
Talk about why.
I think Instinct just didn't give it 100%, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
They don't have to win that game. They said it was their best game type. Maybe their best map, but it's surprised to see them lose their best game type against a team like Classic. So just, I think that in this next game, I mean, this could be a momentum swing for Classic, though. You know, this win definitely heightens their spirit. You see them smiling and talking. So if they can just do that same exact thing in these last 2 games, but you know Instinct is going to come around, turn it on, and they just want to close this series out and be done for the night.
Well, well, they aren't done for the night. They still have the winners semifinals, but they get a little break.
Okay, done with pool play.
Talk about Straight Sick doing good.
Yeah.
Most hill time, most kills, best kill death, most assists. He pretty much did just about everything.
Yeah. Second in assists only to Ogre 2. I think it's just the fact that he was really roaming around and didn't necessarily have power weapons. I did see him with Snipe at one point. But really, really awesome performance from him. So he's here to win this series. So let's see if he can turn it up for Game 4.
Yeah, and Game 4 will be taking place on Capture the Flag on the pit. We will be back after this.